Welcome back, everyone. The iPhone 12 mini and iPhone 10 are fairly newish, older iPhones, so let's go and see how they compare in 2022. Now, I'll definitely tell you the 12 mini may seem like a better deal here and there. If you want a phone that's going to last longer, that's probably the better one, to be honest. If you want to pick up either one of these phones, links will be down in the description. You can get them from there. You can help support the channel at the same time. Now, side by side, you can definitely tell that the 12 mini is a little bit of a smaller phone. The 10 had a 5.8-inch Super Retina OLED display on it, and it was a pretty good panel for the most part. Definitely not like the best panel of all time, but it still looks pretty good. You still have the notch, very few little display bezel around it, but it still looks pretty good. And I'm actually in love with this phone. I think it looks really, really good for sure. On the 12 mini, we have a little bit of a smaller 5.4-inch Super Retina XDR OLED panel, and this is still a very good panel for sure. I don't know if one is way better than the other one, but from what I understand, this is probably still a really good panel. It doesn't necessarily look better or sharper than this one, but I still think it looks pretty good. And you still have the notch, still have everything, but this is still a very good panel, and this is still a very good panel as well. Now, in terms of thickness and thickness, kind of the same thing. Like, I think the 12 mini feels a little bit thinner. It's definitely a smaller phone, but it doesn't necessarily feel like it's a better feel in the hand necessarily, because the 10 does have a little bit of a curved, feeling to it. So I kind of like that on the 10, but the 12 mini still looks pretty good. On the back, we do have glass backs on both as well. Now, my 12 mini is completely shattered. It's been completely broken for a little bit of time now, but we do have the dual camera setup here as well as the 10. A little bit of a different setup, which we'll get into in a little bit. Wireless charging on both, MagSafe capability here, IP certification on both as well. Lightning ports at the bottom, and that kind of covers it up on the outside. Now, with the 12 mini, what I'll definitely tell you is one of the biggest advantages is with this device longevity. Because this phone came out in 2020, and this one has a higher likelihood of outlasting this specific phone. Is it a big deal? Well, it truly kind of depends on the which way you look at it. Personally, I don't know if it's like a deal breaker or a groundbreaking thing, but it is one of those things where with every single iOS version that comes out, and this device seems more and more like a better deal than this one in some cases, mostly because of iOS 16, if I'm being honest. There were a lot of issues with iOS 16, and there still are. Actually, it's fairly stable for the most part. The only issue I have is with the limited software updates that we're getting and limited software features that we're getting on this specific phone. I'm not a fan of the way Apple is approaching it. I think it's probably going to get better throughout time, but it is one of the more annoying things, at least in my opinion. So from that standpoint, that kind of covers it up there as well. Now let's go into a speed comparison between both these devices. The iPhone 10 has that Apple A11 Bionic chip inside of it with 3 gigabytes of RAM. The 12 mini has the Apple A14 Bionic chip inside of it with 4 gigabytes of RAM. So let's go and see which one is the faster one between both of these. Okay, there we go. All the apps are cleared out in the background. As you guys can tell, the 12 mini is here, 10 is here, and they're both on iOS 16. So let's get into it. Phone calls, 3, 2, 1. 12 mini, definitely faster there for sure. Let's do music, 3, 2, 1. And I would I don't really know which one was faster there. This one got into a different panel, which is kind of unfortunate. Settings, 3, 2, 1. 12 mini slightly faster there. Clock, 3, 2, 1. I think the 12 mini was a little bit faster there too. Let's do mail, 3, 2, 1. I think the 12 mini slightly faster there. Podcast, 3, 2, 1. 12 mini again is the faster one for sure. Let's go ahead and do reminders, 3, 2, 1. Again, this one was much faster to get into that panel. Books, which I do not have here. App Store, 3, 2, 1. And again, the 12 mini is quite a bit faster. So we're seeing a bit of a speed improvement on the 12 mini for sure. And this is something that I really wanted to see. I mean, this phone is 3 years newer than this one, so it should theoretically be faster. Photos, 3, 2, 1. Okay, let's go and click into a photo. Zoom in and zoom out. Pretty much the same thing. As you can see, the 12 mini is doing a better job at zooming in and out faster. And we're just able to zoom in much faster on the iPhone 12 mini than on the iPhone 10. Hopping out of here. Camera, 3, 2, 1. Pretty much the same thing, taking a photo, going into the photo itself here. Okay, kind of the same thing like I showed you, zooming in and out. Kind of actually seems like the same thing on both. Hopping out of here, let's go and get into FaceTime, 3, 2, 1. Okay, 12 mini I think was the faster one there too. I think that kind of covers up a majority of these apps. You can try iTunes Store, 3, 2, 1. 12 mini again is the faster one to get into that panel. We can try Files, 3, 2, 1. Okay, that one kind of covers it up there. Let's try Home. I guess we only do have it, 3, 2, 1. Okay, again, the 12 mini is faster, and we're seeing a reoccurring trend here, I think for sure. The 12 mini is definitely the faster phone here in pretty much every single thing that I've tested so far. I think in RAM management, it's also going to do a better job, but that's kind of the more important thing to keep in mind. If you want a faster phone, the 12 mini is definitely there for you, but I still think the iPhone 10 handled itself pretty well. You know, it was only a little bit behind of the iPhone 12 mini, and I think that's probably one of the biggest things to keep in mind here. If you want the faster phone, definitely the 12 mini is there for you, but because of the iPhone 10, with it keeping up fairly well with this phone, I think that gives you have to give the iPhone 10 some credit there, in my opinion. So, in terms of that, that kind of covers it up in speed. Now, in terms of the actual camera comparison, like I mentioned before, you are getting that dual camera setup on the iPhone 12 mini and on the iPhone 10. But these cameras are a little bit different. The iPhone 10 has a wide and a telephoto lens, so you do have the ability of having that standard wide lens, but you also have the ability of zooming in a ton, which can be cool for a lot of people. The 12 mini does have that wide and ultra wide sensor. So you have the ability of zooming in quite a little bit to a photo, but you have the ability of zooming out to a lot of photo. So in my opinion, I think something like the iPhone 10, with its type of camera, I think it's been fairly solid, throughout the last several years we've had it. I think with the 10, one of its biggest advantages is that ability of zooming in and 4K at 60. Now, you do not have 4K on the front of this phone, which is kind of an unfortunate thing, but still having 4K at 60 on the back is really good. The photos look really nice. You have portrait mode, video mode, things like that. But I will say this camera is starting to be a little bit dated. We do have things like the iPhone 12 mini that are better, but with this phone, I still think it gets the job done. But the 12 mini is definitely the better one here. And I will say with the 12 mini, with its ultra wide sensor, I've always kind of personally preferred an ultra wide sensor over something like a telephoto lens. I think both are important, but that's just kind of how I felt it. I mean, when you have a photo like this, you can still zoom in a lot into either one photo or the other one. But I will say having things like portrait mode and things are great, but that ultra wide sensor is the best advantage here. I think just being able to zoom in and out to a lot of photo, or even in a video. If you're in a video, you have the ability of utilizing that ultra-wide sensor as well, not to the same capacity as the regular photo mode, but it is something that I've seen, and it's something I also kind of look at every once in a while. So I will say the 12 mini's camera is probably the better option here. It is a much better camera than the iPhone 10, but I still think the 10's camera is fairly decent as well. Now that kind of brings us to the end of the video, and if I'm being honest, I think the 12 mini is definitely the better one here. I think every time I've pretty much looked at all these phones, the 12 mini is the better option. The only thing that I don't really like about the 12 mini was the battery health issue that we had. It's been widespread, don't know why Apple hasn't fixed it yet, and this iPhone I actually don't know. So I'm at 92% here, not bad, and this one is at 86%. I think the 12 mini is definitely the better phone here overall, but there are some advantages with the 10. I mean, it's a cheaper phone right now. I would say the build quality is arguably better on the iPhone 10. I think this is a better built phone. I felt like this thing looks still very good, and for a 2017 phone, I mean, this thing is 5 years old right now. This thing still looks and feels very, very premium. It maybe wouldn't be the first phone I'd recommend people to buy, but it's still a very good phone for this year. And since on iOS 16, this thing, the battery life is kind of phenomenal on this phone right now, which is very weird. But the issue that I've been having, for the most part, is pretty much with its limited features. If you want a phone that's going to give you the most amount of features over time, and this is probably the one for you. But I still think the 12 mini is probably the overall better phone when you look at it like that. So that kind of covers it up. If you have any other thoughts or questions, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.